Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. So today is going to be our last session of the spectrum revision through 700 MCQs. इसके पहले के वीडियोस में we have already completed from question number 100 to question number 547, and now in today's video we are going to start with the subject of questions of Viceroy. Then we will see the Indian National Congress session and some of the most important questions जहाँ से frequently questions आते हैं. ठीक है. So without wasting time, let us start the session. Before starting, I would like to tell you that a current affairs program, revision program, which is in the form of quiz, is being conducted on the Telegram channel. So if you have not joined the Telegram, you can join it. The link to the Telegram channel will be available in the description of this video. Also, if you want the PDF of this Spectrum 700 MCQs, you can see the pinned comment section. So let us start with our first question now. Who founded the Asiatic Society of Bengal in 1784? Now, Asiatic Society was established first of all by William Jones. Okay, this you need to remember. And it was established during the tenureship of Lord Warren Hastings. Hastings promoted the Oriental scholarship alongside the colonial governance. In addition to that, Hastings also ended the dual government that started in Bengal in the year 1765. Now this dual government was started by Robert Clive. Now these facts you need to know regarding this question. ठीक है, अगर आपको ये सारे facts याद थे, so well and good, you have efficiently revised the spectrum. Next is, which treaty ended the first Maratha war in 1782? Now, this was the Treaty of Salbai. This was signed between the English East India Company and the Marathas. This was a compromise between the Marathas and the British East India Company. So, the first Maratha war, it ended in 1782, and the war was held during the governorship of Lord Warren Hastings. Okay. Now, if I talk about the first Anglo-Mysore war, it was held during the governorship of Henry Wordlest. Okay. Next is, which Governor General introduced the permanent settlement in Bengal? So the permanent settlement in Bengal was introduced by Lord Cornwallis in the year 1793. Now this was a structured land revenue through which zamindars paid the fixed payment. Also, एक question यहाँ से भी बनता है. There is a term which is named as the sunset clause. So you need to know this. Now, sunset clause was a clause at that time if the zamindar failed to pay the rent. If he failed to pay the rent, the ownership on the land, his ownership on the land, as we know that during the permanent settlement, the hereditary owners were considered as zamindars. Zamindars were the hereditary owner of the land. So if the zamindar failed to pay the sum by the sunset, their hereditary right was ceased. Their control over the land was ceased. Okay? This is the sunset clause, and this is related to the permanent settlement, or it is related to the land revenue. ठीक है, ये sunset clause याद रखना है, ये question आ सकता है. Next is, who introduced the system of subsidiary alliance? So subsidiary alliance was introduced by Lord Wellesley. In addition to that, I'd also like you to explain that this principle of subsidiary alliance was an extension of the previous system, which was known as the policy of ring fence. This was known as the policy of ring fence, which was initiated by Lord Warren Hastings. Okay. Next is, which viceroy annexed Sindh in the year 1843? So the viceroy was at that time Lord Ellenborough, and if I talk about who annexed Sindh, so Charles Napier annexed Sindh. Okay. Next is, who abolished sati in 1829? So as we have already solved this question, that by the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Lord William Bentinck ended sati in the year 1829. It was declared as illegal and punishable under law. Next is which act marked the transfer of the power from the company to the crown? So this question I have also explained you earlier, that it was the revolt of 1857 that shook the very instincts and very confidence of the British Empire, and it was after the revolt of 1857 that the Good Government of India Act 1858 was passed, in which the ultimate power was transferred to the crown. And who was the representative of the crown? So secretary, an office of the Secretary of States was established in the London, who was the direct representative of crown. Okay. Also the title of the Governor General of India, this was changed to the Viceroy of India. And who was the first Viceroy? Lord Canning was the first Viceroy. Okay, I hope these things are clear now. Let's move to the next question. Who became the first Indian governor of the Bihar in 1920? It was SP Sinha. Okay, this is important for those who are preparing for the BPSC 71st examination. This is very important. The first Indian governor of Bihar was SP Sinha. Doctrine of lapse was introduced by Lord Dalhousie, and Satara was the first state. 1848 mein that was annexed. After that Sambalpur was annexed in the year 1849, and ultimately Jhansi and Nagpur in the year 1853 and 1854. Okay. Now what was the main theme of this doctrine of lapse? It conveyed that if any ruler does not have its natural heir, their land will cease to exist, and that is why Jhansi Ki Rani, who is also known as Rani Lakshmi Bai, who is also known as Jhansi Ki Rani, he actively participated in the revolt that arose in Jhansi, and she participated in the revolt of 1857. Okay, so this you need to know. And who suppressed the revolt at Jhansi? It was Sir Hugh Rose. Hugh Rose suppressed the revolt at Jhansi. Next is the Vernacular Press Act was introduced by Lord Lytton in the year 1878. Okay, Lord Lytton introduced it, and ultimately Lord Ripon is credited to have ended the Vernacular Press Act of 1878. Which Governor General laid the first railway line from Bombay to Thane? It was under Lord Dalhousie in the year 1853. Next is who launched the Factory Act of 1881 for labor welfare? So this was the Lord Ripon. He launched the Factory Act of 1881, and you need to know that this act was not related to women. Okay, this act was related to the child labor and their working hours. Who repealed the Vernacular Press Act? This is Lord Ripon. Under whose tenure was the Indian National Congress founded? It was during the Lord Dufferin in the year 1885. Okay, W.C. Banerjee was the president, and the first session was held at Gokul Das Tejpal College, and 72 delegates participated in this session. Who passed the Indian Universities Act of 1904? It was Lord Curzon. The act regulated the university governance and curriculum. Next is who presided over the partition of Bengal in 1905? This was Lord Curzon. Okay. Now what was the main what was the main idea behind this partition? So the British government, the East India Company, told that they are doing the partition for the administrative convenience. Okay, they are doing the partition for the administrative convenience, but ultimately they wanted to break India into two parts so that the revolutionary activities, the revolutionary as well as the nationalist activities, should be curbed. Okay, and it was announced on 19th, it was formally implemented in September 1905, although it was announced in the month of June. Okay, next is which act introduced a separate electorate for Muslim in 1909? So it is the very famous Morley-Minto Act. It was also known as Indian Council Act of 1909. Okay. Now this Indian Council Act जो आप देख रहे हैं, it introduced the provision of indirect elections for the first time. This Government of India Act of 1919, it provided for the provincial diarchy. Okay? And this Government of Act of 1919, it was associated with the Chelmsford reforms in the year 1917, during whose viceroyalty did the capital shift from Calcutta to Delhi. This was during the tenure of Lord Hardinge in the year 1911, marked by the Delhi Darbar of George V. Who introduced the Government of India Act in 1919? It was Lord Chelmsford. It was based on the Montagu Declaration that introduced the diarchy in provinces. Next is, which tragic event occurred under the Lord Chelmsford in 1919? So the Dandi March, as we see, happened in the year 1930. Revolt of 1857 to 57 के टाइम पे हुआ था. Bengal famine, the famous Bengal famines are related to the 1943 का tenure. जालियांवाला बाग मैसेकर अप्रैल 13th 1919 को ये ऑकर हुआ था, in which the protesters were protesting against the illegal. They were protesting against the illegal detention of their two leaders, that is Dr. Satyapal and Kichliu. ठीक है, सैफुद्दीन किचलियो. इन दोनों के डिटेंशन के अगेंस्ट दे वेयर होल्डिंग द प्रोटेस्ट व्हेन जनरल ओडायर came through the only entrance of the Jallianwala Bagh, and he killed nearly almost everyone. Okay. Now Udham Singh, the name you have heard, he is credited to kill General O'Dwyer. Okay. Next is, which event led Gandhi to suspend the non-cooperation movement in 1922? So it was the Chauri Chaura incidents, in which the mob, they set a police station in the Gorakhpur district to fire. This Chauri Chaura Kand was also called as the Himalayan blunder. अब Himalayan blunder किसने बोला था to this Chauri Chaura Act? ये आप मुझे comment section में बताना. Who founded the Swaraj Party in the year 1922? It was Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das. And why was this party formed? So the main focus of this was legislative entry. Now the Congress was not in a view, particularly if at all Gandhi was not in a view to join the council, join the legislative council, whereas Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das were of the view that the people should join council and the reforms can be taken place through the councils also. So this was the idea behind that. Okay. Next is, यहाँ पे हमारा this is correct. Now, in whose viceroyalty did the Simon Commission arrive in India? So it was Lord Irwin. What resolution did Congress pass at its Lahore session in 1929? So this was the Poorna Swaraj, Independence Resolution. Although Swaraj for the first time it was mentioned in the 1905 Calcutta session. ठीक है, 1906 के Calcutta session में Swaraj was mentioned for the first time, and this session was presided over by Dada Bhai Naroji. Now these are very basic fact that you need to know. ये आपको पता होने चाहिए. ठीक है. Who was the president of the क्या कहते हैं Lahore session? It was Jawaharlal Nehru. And where was the tricolored unfurled on 31st December? It was on the river Ravi. Next is, which viceroy signed the Gandhi-Irwin Pact? So it was Irwin only, and one of the demand in that was the Congress would attend the Round Table Conference, and that was the reason when second Round Table Conference was participated by Indian National Congress, and who participated? It was Mahatma Gandhi. And what was the name of ship? INS Rajputana was the name of ship in which Gandhi went to the Round Table Conference in London. What controversial provision did the Communal Award of 1932 introduce? Separate electorates for minorities. Okay, Gandhi opposed it, and it was the point of contention between Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar. And ultimately, this Poorna Pact in the year 1934, B.R. Ambedkar agreed to give up the separate electorate, but A separate scheme for depressed class, a separate scheme for depressed class came, and ultimately they got more seats in the legislative councils. Under which act Burma was separated from India? It was the 1935 Act. Okay, it established Burma as a separate colony. Who formed the forward bloc after resigning from Congress presidency in 1939? It was Subhash Chandra Bose. He sought a more of a radical line against the British imperialism. This is important. And which session did the Subhash Chandra Bose preside? It was the Tripuri session. Where is this Tripuri? In Madhya Pradesh. ये सारे basic questions हैं, ये पता होने चाहिए आपको. What was the Muslim League called in its Karachi session of 1944? It was divide and quit. Okay. In the Lahore resolution, in the Lahore session of the Muslim League in 1940, a separate demand for a new country, a demand for a separate country was pronounced for the first time. Okay. So ये पता होना चाहिए आपको. Next is who announced the end of British rule in India on Feb 20, 1947? It was announced by Clement Attlee. ठीक है. Next is which plan became the basis of the Indian Independence Act 1947? It was the June 3rd plan, which was also known as Mountbatten Plan, paved the way for the partition and the two dominions. Next, where was the Congress session held that adopted the Poon Swaraj resolution? So it was obviously the Lahore session of Congress. Next is who presided over the Congress session in 1916 which ratified the Lucknow Pact? So it was presided by A.C. Majumdar. Confuse मत होना सूरत सेशन के साथ. अभी सूरत सेशन जो है of the year 1907 that was presided by रास बिहारी घोष. घोष है ये, ठीक है. And there was a revolutionary leader as well. रिवॉल्यूशनरी लीडर भी थे एक जिनका नाम था रास बिहारी बोस. अब इन दोनों को कंफ्यूज मत करना आपस में, ये दोनों सेपरेट हैं. ओके. नेक्स्ट देख लेते हैं. Who was the Congress president when the Jallianwala Bagh massacre was condemned? So this is an important question. S.P. Sinha was the president of Congress. Okay. Next is who presided over the only Congress session attended by Gandhi as the president? So Gandhi's only session as the Indian National Congress president was the Belagaum session in 1924. Next is who was the Congress president when the Swaraj Party was formed? It was Maulana Muhammad Ali. At which session was the Congress constitution framed? So Congress का constitution was framed for the first time in the Nagpur 1920. Okay. Next is who acted as the Congress president in 1923 at Kakinada when C.R. Das was imprisoned? So this was Hakim Ajmal Khan, and this is important question. Where was the first All India Youth Congress formed in 1928? It was formed in Calcutta. It encouraged youth participation in the national movement and the civil disobedience. Next is who presided over the 1928 Calcutta Congress session endorsing the independence resolution? It was Motilal Nehru. Motilal leadership solidified the shift from the dominion status to the Poon Swaraj, and that is the reason why 1929 में Poon Swaraj was passed in the 1929 Lahore session. Next is which was the first newspaper published in India? It was the Bengal Gazette by James Augustus Hickey, and this was during the 1780s का period. Okay. Now मेरे हिसाब से यहाँ पे जो मैंने बताया ना, ये यहाँ पे एसपी सिन्हा नहीं, मोतीलाल नेहरू इज द करेक्ट आंसर. ठीक है. अमृतसर सेशन में मोतीलाल नेहरू वाज द प्रेसिडेंट. ये ध्यान में रखना आप. दिस इज रॉन्गली गिवन. पीडीएफ में मैं इसको सही कर दूंगा. यहाँ पे मोतीलाल नेहरू थे. ठीक है, ये ध्यान रखना आप. वही मैं दिमाग में अभी दिस थिंग वाज बॉदरिंग मी कि ये गलत है, गलती से इंक्लूड हो गया. नेक्स्ट इज हु एडिटेड मिरातुल अकबर द फर्स्ट पर्शियन जनरल. तो दिस वाज राजा राम मोहन रॉय. नेक्स्ट है हमारा विच वाज द फर्स्ट बंगाली मंथली मैगजीन इन इंडिया. दिस वाज दिग्दर्शन. Who was associated with the Calcutta General? J.S. Buckingham. Which paper did Raja Ram Mohan Roy started to advocate social reforms? This was Sambaad Committee and this is an important paper. ये ध्यान में रखना आपको. रास्त गोफर दादा भाई नारोजी का था. In 1822, in which 1822 paper was first published in Urdu? This was Jame Jahan Numa. Which Gujarati paper was founded by Dada Bhai Naroji? This was Rast Gofar. Who founded the Amrit Bazar Patrika? This was Shishir Kumar Ghosh and Motilal Nehru. Which journal was started by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee in Bengali? This was Banga Darshan. Who edited Kesari Maharati and Maharat in English? This was Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Which Tamil nationalist paper was started by G.S. Iyer? This was Swadesh Mitram. Who launched the Bande Mataram from Paris? This was Madam Bikaji Kama. Which revolutionary newspaper was published by Gadar Party in USA? The name was Gadar. It was printed in San Francisco, inciting revolution against the British rule. Who started the Bahishkrit Bharat for Dalit upliftment? This was B.R. Ambedkar. Who was the founding editor of the Bombay Chronicle in 1913? This was B.G. Horniman. Who founded Leader, an English daily from Allahabad? Madan Mohan Malviya. And this is an important paper. ये याद रखना. Who started Kudi Arasu, a Tamil journal promoting self-respect? This was E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar Periyar. Next is, which paper was published from Berlin by Virendra Nath Chattopadhyay? This was फ्री हिंदुस्तान. ठीक है, फ्री हिंदुस्तान है. नेक्स्ट इज हु वॉज बिहाइंड इंडियन सोशियोलॉजिस्ट रेडिकल जर्नल इन लंडन. दिस वाज श्यामजी कृष्ण वर्मन. ही यूज्ड टू प्रोपगेट एक्सट्रीमिस्ट नेशनलिस्ट व्यूज इन ब्रिटेन. विच पेपर वॉज टर्न इनटू द टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया इन 1861. दिस वाज बॉम्बे टाइम्स. द फाउंडेशन वॉज लेड बाय रॉबर्ट नाइट and it later became a very major publication. Who authored Bandi Jeevan, a memoir of revolutionary type? Bandi Jeevan was of Sachindranath Sainyal. Which paper was started by Jawaharlal Nehru in 1938? The paper was the National Herald. Which Bengali paper began as multi-language weekly in 1822? This was Bangadat. It was additionally published in English, Bengali, Persian. Okay. Next, who published Paridasak, a weekly in 1886? This was Bipin Chandra Pal. Next, which paper was started in Madras as the first evening paper? This was Madras Mail. Next is, where was the Bahadur Shah Zafar tried for his role in 1857 revolt? So this was in Red Fort, Delhi. Next, which nationalist leader was jailed for the contempt of court in 1883? This was Surendranath Banerjee. Which general led to Tilak imprisonment for sedition in 1908? This was Kesari. He was exiled to Mandalay for 6 years. Aurobindo Ghosh was tried for involvement in which case? This was the Alipur bomb case. Who received two life terms from the International Court at Hague? Important है. This is V.D. Savarkar. He served 10 years jail in Andaman Cellular Jail. What was Gandhi tried for 1922 alongside Shankar Lal Banker? This was sedition via articles Young India, and this is again an important question. What was the charge in the Meerut conspiracy case of 1929? So this Meerut conspiracy case was all the way related to the Marxist ideas. Okay? That mainly focused on conspiring against the British rule. Bhagat Singh was sentenced to death for which act? So it was against the assassination of Saunders. And he was tried under the Lahore conspiracy case. And two of the other members in the Lahore conspiracy case, one was Sukhdev and the other one was Rajguru. And Bhagat Singh was the third. And all of them were given the death sentence on March 31st, 1931. Now this was also a demand that was made by Congress under the Irwin Pact, but Irwin refused to grant pardon to these three leaders. Which INA leader were tried in the Red Fort in 1945? This was Dhillon, Sehgal and Khan. Which reformer started the Satyashodak Saman in 1873? This is Jyotiba Phule. What was about the Aravipuram movement of 1888 about? It was about the caste upliftment of Ezwas. Which movement led to the 1930 reservation order in Madras? This is Justice Party movement. Who launched the self-respect movement in Tamil Nadu? So it was launched by E.V. Ramaswamy Naikar. Next, who led the Mahar movement for the Dalit from 1924? This was B.R. Ambedkar. Which Congress campaign founded the Harijan weekly Harijan movement? The Kaivartas of Bengal formed which Sabha in 1897? This was the Jati Nirdharini Sabha. Which journal was started by Periyar in 1910? This was Kudi Arasu. Which caste imitated Kshatriya custom to become Nadars? This was the Shahans. What was the primary aim of the Nair movement in Kerala? Counter Brahmanical domination. What year did Ambedkar launch the Bahishkrit Bharat? 1927, to promote the Dalit self-respect and resistance of caste bias. Who founded the Brahmo Samaj in Calcutta? Raja Ram Mohan Roy. What journal did Raja Ram Mohan Roy started in 1821? This was Sambad Kumudi. Which reformer led the Young Bengal movement? It was Henry Vivian Dorji. It championed reason, freedom and truth through their radical thought. Who founded the Wahhabi movement in India? It was Sayyid Ahmad of Rai Bareli. What was the journal of the Rehnumai Mazda-e Sabha? It was Rast Gofar, and it was ultimately to reform the Parsi society. Who founded the Arya Samaj in Bombay in 1875? It was Dayanand Saraswati. What educational institution was linked with Arya Samaj? It was DAV School. Who founded the Ramakrishna Mission in 1897? Swami Vivekanand. Which reformer promoted women's upliftment to Seva Sadan in Bombay? It was Behramji Malabari. Who launched the Servants of India Society in 1905? It was Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Which movement founded the Purna Seva Sadan in 1909? It was Ramabai's Ranade initiator. Who established the Indian Reform Association in 1870? It was Keshav Chandra Sen. Next, who were the founder of the Deccan Education Society? So Gopal Ganesh Agarkar and M.G. Ranade. Next is which Muslim reformer launched the Aligarh movement? Sayyid Ahmad Khan. Who founded the Theosophical Society, later led by Annie Besant? So H.P. Blavatsky and H.S. Alcott. What was the aim of Dev Samaj founded in Lahore? To rationalize religious code of conduct. Who founded Bharat Dharma Mahamandal in Banaras? It was Madan Mohan Malviya. Next is what reform was Veerasalingam Panatlu associated with? Widow right and Devdasi abolition. Which women reform group was founded in Calcutta in 1910? It was Bharati Stree Mandal. Which movement promoted annual All India Women's Conference? It was Indian Women Association. Who founded the Nishkam Karma Mutt in Pune? It was founded by D.K. Karve. What was the goal of Seva Samiti? For education and public welfare, and this was founded by H.N. Kunzru or Hridaynath Kunzru. Next is the Social Services League was started by N.M. Joshi. Which movement emphasized self-realization through satsang? It was Radha Swami movement. Who founded the Swadeshi steam navigation company in Tuticorin? It was Chidambaram Pillai. Next, which leader promoted Ganpati and Shivaji festival to fuel Swadeshi spirit? It was B.G. Tilak. Who set up Swadeshi Bandap Samiti to mobilize Muslim peasants in Barisal? Ashwini Kumar Dutt. And this is an important question. Who led the jute mill workers to form Mill Hands Union at the Baj in 1906? Ashwini Kumar Banerjee. Who composed patriotic Swadeshi song and promoted Raksha Bandhan as protest? This was Rabindranath Tagore. Next, who edited the journal Bande Mataram and promoted national education? Aurobindo Ghosh. Which leader promoted Swadeshi in Punjab through the Brahmo inclined group? It was Lala Harkrishnan Lal. Who launched the Krishna Patrika newspaper in Masulipatnam? It was T. Prakasam M. Krishna Rao. Next, which revolutionary leader set up a Bombay factory after returning from Paris? This is Hemachandra Kanungo. Which session declared Swaraj as the Congress ultimate goal in 1906? Calcutta. Who spread the national cooperation movement through Kisan Sabha and peasant mobilization? It was Jawaharlal Nehru. Which leader moved the main non-cooperation resolution at Nagpur in 1920? It was Motilal Nehru. Sorry, it was C.R. Das. Motilal Nehru was in Amritsar session. Which woman was the first to court arrest during the non-cooperation movement? It was Basanti Devi. Next is, who initiated a no tax campaign among Mahishya tenants in Midnapur? It was Birendranath Samsar. Who opposed Gandhi's suspension of the movement and supported workers' strike in Assam? It was G.M. Sengupta. Who resigned from the civil service to join non-cooperation and became principal of National College? It was Subhash Chandra Bose. What did Muhammad Ali declare at the All India Khilafat conference? That he claimed that the British service was religiously forbidden post-war. Which lawyer gave up practices and was arrested during the non-cooperation movement? This was Motilal Nehru, and many of them, Rajendra Prasad also, he gave up his law degree and his law practice. Which veteran leader opposed school boycott but later supported non-cooperation? This was Lala Lajpat Rai. Who actively supported Gandhi movement in Bihar during the non-cooperation? Rajendra Prasad. Which commission recommended the organization of Indian states on the linguistic basis in 1950s? It is Fazl Ali Committee in the year 1953. The term commanding heights of the economy in Indian planning is primarily referred to the state ownership of key industries. Which event was a direct outcome of India-Soviet Treaty of Peace and Friendship in 1971? That was Bangladeshi Liberation War. Which constitutional amendment curtailed the fundamental right during emergency? It was the 42nd Amendment. The Mandal Commission recommended the reservation that was based on social and educational backwardness. Who was first elected female Chief Minister of Independent India? It was Sucheta Kriplani. The doctrine of basic structure of the constitution was laid down in which landmark judgment? It was in the Keshwanandan Bharti. What was the primary role of the planning commission that distinguished it from the Niti Aayog? It was financial grants allocation to states. As finance commission अब ये काम करता है financial allocations to the state, पहले ये काम planning commission का होता था. नीति आयोग 2015 में फॉर्म हुआ था and its only work is to promote the center state relation and promote the cooperative and competitive federalism. Next, which prime minister launched the technology mission on literacy, immunization and water? It was Rajiv Gandhi. The term license Raj referred to the bureaucratic control over the businesses. Which agreement normalized the Indo-China relations post 1962 war, restoring the ambassador level ties? It is 1976 Indo-China Diplomatic Accord. Which reform was not a part of LPG? Expansion of PDS to the rural areas? This was not a part. Who was the architect of Operation Flood, the White Revolution? This was Verghese Kurian. In which year did India become a founding member of WTO? In the year 1995. The first act granted constitutional status to Panchayati Raj was the 73rd Amendment Act. The term Look East policy initiated during which Prime Minister's tenure? It was during the Narasimha Rao. The constitution provision empowers Parliament to make law on state subject during national interest is Article 249. Golden Quadrilateral Highway was launched under the NDA-1 government. Which movement led to the creation of Uttarakhand in the year 2000? It was Uttarakhand Kranti Dal mobilization. Which post-independence tribal uprising led to the creation of autonomous council in the northeast? It is the Naga insurgency. The phrase unity in diversity was symbolically reinforced through which post-independence national initiative? It was the National Integration Council that was formed in the year 1961 to address communalism and promote cohesion. The Supreme Court ruling in the Indira Sahni versus Union of India upheld which principle regarding reservation? It was no reservation in promotions. Tashkent Agreement 1966 was brokered by which international leader after the Indo-Pak War? Alexei Kosygin. Which Constitutional Amendment Act created the anti-defection provision? So it was the 52nd Amendment Act of the year 1985. Now with this we have done when we have finished our स्पेक्ट्रम 700 MCQs. अगर ये सीरीज आपको अच्छी लगी तो इस वीडियो को लाइक करना, कमेंट करके बताना सीरीज कैसी लगी, एंड इफ यू वांट द PDF of this you can download it from the pinned comment section. Till then, keep studying and thank you for watching this video.